12 creatures that may never existed, and became a front page. Points and monsters. Creatures, beings, animals, monsters, myths, and no reality. The world needs stories like Nessie's Loch Ness, but reality is harsh, and sometimes rejects imagination. The stories about the pounds that haunt a lake, or a house are of course the best weapon for successful marketing in the internet world, and spend months, or even years to accept the fanatic audience that supports the plot of conspiracy, or photo games that some have managed to make the most of. A recent example of the crabslim monster. A giant crab allegedly portrayed in Google Maps frames and located in Kent, UK. In fact they were rocks. But many thought it was a huge crab. 1. Skunk ape. Reports of the skunk ape were particularly common in the 1960s and 1970s. In 1974, sightings of a large, foul-smelling, hairy, ape-like creature, which ran upright on two legs were reported in suburban neighborhoods of Dade County, Florida. Skeptical investigator Joe Nickell has written that some of the reports may represent sightings of the black bear, and it is likely that other sightings are hoaxes, or misidentification of wildlife. In 2000, a woman from Florida called the police home, and showed the camera this photo, claiming that the monkey with the grey beard was walking in her garden. The authors finally stated that this was a photo montage effect of the woman who obviously wanted to pull the lights on her. 2. The Loch Ness Monster. According to myth, Nessie lives in Loch Ness Lake, northern Scotland. Reports of the existence of an undetermined monster in Loch Ness are dated back to the 6th century when, according to the legend, St. Columba miraculously saved a man's life from it. The first modern references include an anonymous letter to the Inverness Courier newspaper in 1933, according to which a couple had noticed on Lake Loch Ness an unknown species, as its traces of the surface of the sea testified. Later it turned out that his description was exaggerated. Since then more testimonies, and references have been made to a monster of 6 to 125 feet in length. In April 1934, a photograph of Nessie, also known as the surgeon's photo, was created by the gynecologist Robert Wilson. It is up to date the most popular illustration of the monster that appears with a long neck, and a small head, having similar features to a close-up. Wilson's son admitted his forgiveness, which was proved in 1994 by a group of researchers. Underwater surveys carried out in 2003, using a sonar, failed to locate the terrible reptile. 3. The Loys monkey. Amranthropoides loysi, the Loys monkey is reported to be a large humanoid presented by François de Loys during the oil exploration, 1917 to 1920 in an area along the border between Colombia and Venezuela, mainly near Lake Maracaibo. According to de Loys' report, while the group had camped near the Tara River, two large creatures approached them. Initially, men believed they were bears, but then they noticed their peculiar appearance. The creatures, a male and a female, looked angry, defeated in their hands, and threw the stools to the men. Fearing for their safety, the men shot and killed the male. The female then left in the woods. The authenticity of the photo has not been confirmed. 4. The British Puma. This photo was taken by an individual in Britain. The original reports of Puma in the Big Island were denied. The photo depicts a big cat. 5. Chupacabra. The dog vampire. Chupacabras can be literally translated as goat sucker, from chupa means to suck, and cabra means goat. The first reported attack occurred in March 1995 in Puerto Rico. 8 sheep were discovered dead, each with 3 puncture wounds in the chest area, and completely drained of blood. A few months later, in August, an eyewitness, Madeline Tolentino, reported seeing the creature in the Puerto Rican town of Canovanas, when as many as 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed. In 1975, similar killings in the small town of Mocha were attributed to El Vampiro de Mocha, the Vampire of Mocha. Initially, it was suspected that the killings were committed by a satanic cult. Later more killings were reported around the island, and many farms reported loss of animal life. Each of the animals was reported to have had its body bled dry through a series of small circular incisions. Puerto Rican comedian and entrepreneur Silverio Perez is credited with coining the term chupacabras, soon after the first incidents were reported in the press. Shortly after the first reported incidents in Puerto Rico, other animal deaths were reported in other countries, such as the Dominican Republic, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, Brazil, United States, and Mexico. 6. The Bigfoot of Patterson and Gimlin. The famous Patterson-Gimlin photo with the Bigfoot. This is a frame shot on October 20, 1967, in Bluff Creek, California, USA, where an unknown creature appears, and the people who recorded it suggested that he was a Bigfoot. The film has been challenged by many. Most scientists have judged it to be a hoax. 7. Champ. Often referred to as the Loch Ness of America, the mysterious creature of Lake Champlain, bordering on Vermont, New York, and Canada is called Champ. The monster's descriptions vary greatly, but are said to be from 10 to 100 feet long, dark skin, and many bumps. His head is supposed to look like a snake or a dog. A photograph allegedly depicting the monster was published in the New York Times in 1981, giving the monster a national reputation, and considered to be the best proof for the Champ in fact for any monster lake. The irony is that the photo that made the Champ famous was later revealed in a 2003 survey that almost certainly depicted a log that floated instead of a lake monster. While the championship has fallen in recent years, the legend remains alive by the lower-class basketball team, Vermont Lake Monsters. 8. The Bigfoot of Pennsylvania. The man named Rick Jacobs had taken this plan, and indicated that he was a Bigfoot. Eventually he had pulled a bear. 9. The Giant of Cardiff. George Hull's famous hoax. At some point, in 1868, he disagreed at a Methodist gathering for a Genesis verse that says giants once lived on Earth. Unable to persuade Methodists to the contrary, she decided to do something. And he buried on Earth a giant who became a tourist attraction in Cardiff, New York. The giant is still being exhibited today at the Farmers Museum in Cooperstown, New York. 10. Kasai Rex. The dinosaur theoretically living in the jungles of Africa. All Rex photos are fake. 11. The Giant Lizard of Australia. The photo dates back to 1965 when a family traveled to Australia, and claims to have captured this huge lizard in its lens. It is supposed that this sea dragon is located in the cold rocky reefs of southern and western Australia. However, the scientific community disputes its existence. 12. Thunderbird. Thunderbird is a legendary creature of North American indigenous peoples. It is a supernatural bird that symbolizes power, and power. It is depicted in art, songs, and stories, and is also found in various forms to the peoples of South America. The name of Thunderbird comes from the belief that blowing his wings causes thunder and winds. Described as a great bird, capable of creating storms and thunder while flying. They also say that the clouds follow it wherever it goes. The Sioux tribe believed that the Thunderbird destroyed a very dangerous monster called Untitled. This photo was published in an Arizona newspaper in 1860. However, it was also considered hoax.